Hi guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi. My name's Katie Wismer. I am a freelance editor and also an indie author. So today we're gonna kind of do an update of a video I did about 6 months ago. So at the end of 2020, I did kind of like an income report for myself for the year and how self-publishing my books and starting my own business had gone for me in the year 2020. So I thought we would do a 6-month check-in. It's been 6 months since then. Things have drastically changed. If you are newer here and you haven't seen a couple of videos, I would direct you to those first, possibly if you want the full story, more information if you have questions. I have one video up about how I started my business in the first place, and then that 2020 kind of year in review. But today we're just kind of going to be talking about how 2021 has been going for me so far, and I think it's definitely interesting to compare because last year in 2020 I wasn't working for myself full-time for the full year. I went full-time with everything that I'm doing now around the end of September. Then obviously I've been full-time working for myself all year so far this year. So I have a pie chart. We're going to break down where the income's coming from, compare it to what it looked like 6 months ago. I'm not going to get into like specific numbers, like exactly how much money I make or anything, because I just don't feel comfortable doing that on my YouTube channel where just anyone could watch it. I do go into like specific numbers and stuff over on my Patreon page, but today we're just going to do like the overall general breakdown, percentages, that kind of thing. This video is kindly being sponsored by Skillshare. I think Skillshare is such a great resource and jumping off point if you're looking into starting your own business or getting into freelancing yourself. Skillshare is an online learning community and they have classes in all different kinds of topics, but they have this whole set of classes specifically on freelancing and being an entrepreneur. As many of you may know, I started out my editing services on Fiverr and they have a whole class on how to make yourself more visible on Fiverr. And then probably the most frequently asked question I get about my editing services is how I find clients, and they have this whole video about finding clients specifically if you are an introvert, which is me to a T. So I'm really curious to see what this class has to say and what they have to suggest. So if you're one of the many people who've asked me how to get clients, maybe check this one out. I'll have a link down below if you want to check out Skillshare. They're offering a great deal this summer for a free trial that I believe lasts an entire month, and then I'll give you unlimited access to all of the different classes on their site. And then even after a free trial, it's super affordable. With an annual membership, it's around $10 per month. So yeah, make sure to check out the link down below in my description if you want to try them out. Can't recommend them highly enough, and let's just get back into the video. So if you saw the one that I posted at the end of 2020, you'll notice my pie chart looks different this year because I have fewer sources of income because I'm not working as many jobs anymore. I'm trying to scroll back and find the old video so I can compare. So this year I've broken my pie chart down into 4 major categories, although one of those categories is kind of an umbrella and there's a ton of things under it. So we have my books. I'm an indie author, so I make royalties on my books. I have my editing services, I'm a freelance editor. I have YouTube and Patreon. Now that's the one that has like a ton of different things under it. So that category includes AdSense, the money I get on the ads on my videos, sponsorships, Patreon, and then also affiliate links. And I'm an affiliate for Amazon, R-Style, Liquid IV, and Publisher Rocket. So all of those, that's all one category. And then also my smallest category is called digital downloads. This is just something that I'm offering in my shop on my website. On my Patreon page, I have a tier called Self-Publishing 101 where I post bonus videos about self-publishing. So every 10 videos, I bind them up into a downloadable guide that you can get on my website instead if you prefer a one-time purchase instead of the subscription method. So that's basically what that is. So last year, my biggest chunk was YouTube and Patreon. That was 40%. My second largest chunk was editing, and that was 30%. Third largest was nannying. That was 18%. And then fourth largest was books, and that was 9%. So here's the pie chart for this year so far. You can see YouTube and Patreon is still a huge portion, but I honestly think that's because there's so many things under the category. Like no single one of those things is like that big of a chunk, but all of them together is a lot. So that's at 39% this year, and then my editing services is up to 39% as well, so they're tied. I love to see it. I didn't go full-time with my editing until June of last year. That's when I started to take on a full time's worth of clients, so it made sense to me that it wasn't as big of a chunk last year. This year I was definitely expecting it to go up some more, but what I'm probably the happiest about is my books right now is at 20%, coming from 9% last year. I'm super happy with this, especially because I've only had one book release since then in March. So I'm actually hoping to see this number jump up even more in the second half of this year because I'm due to have 3 more books come out this year potentially. One's definitely coming out in August, and then I'm tentatively planning for a October release and a December release as well. So if we could jump this much with one release, I'm really hoping 3 releases will bump that up because that's been my goal for my editing and my book income to get up higher than YouTube. And then digital downloads were at 2%. It was at 1% last year, so that's fine. Again, this I'm not surprised by. I've only released one other thing. I only have the 2 guides up on my website. Self-Publishing 101 Volume 1 and Volume 2. I actually think I have enough videos to make a Volume 3 if I wanted to, but I think I might discontinue making these. I'm still gonna leave the first 2 up and available if people want them. I guess I don't have to sit on the side anymore. But also my Self-Publishing 101 content on Patreon has started to kind of evolve and take a turn. At first it was very much like how-to instructional videos, like I just tried this for my books, this is how I did it, this is how you can do it. Like it was very much a specific topic, this is how I did it. And I still make those videos like every once in a while, but I also am kind of just using it as a way to be able to talk about the numbers and update people so people can kind of like follow along. Like for example, a recent video I did was like, this was my book release, this was the marketing plan, this is how many book sales that resulted in, this is how much money that resulted in compared to how much money I spent on the book. These are the things that I've been doing marketing wise that I think are working well, and this is how I plan to pivot in the future. So it's very much like a zoomed in look at where I'm at that current time. So I don't know, it just feels kind of weird putting these like monthly income reports and stuff in a guide, because it's not really like a guide, they're just like updates now. So anyway, it's not surprising to me that this category has not grown, and I don't think it's going to grow very much, and I'm not really focusing on it anymore. I'm super relieved honestly with all of my data that I've seen for these first 6 months, because coming out of 2020 I didn't know exactly what to expect, because with quitting those other jobs, obviously those sources of income disappeared. So in order to maintain my level of income, all of my other jobs like the freelance editing and the books, we're going to have to rise up to replace that lost income before I ever started to see like income growth and like making more than I did last year. So I had to pick up the slack from these missing jobs and then also hopefully grow some more. But as far as the first 6 months go, we're projected to see some growth from last year, which is really exciting. But yeah, my main goals for the second half of the year is to keep focusing on my editing services and my books. Those are really my priorities. I still really enjoy doing YouTube, and I'm so thankful that I have this extra income kind of as like a safety net that allows me to focus on building my business. So if you're here, if you watch my channel, if you're subscribed over on Patreon, thank you so much for being here. You truly keep the lights on for this channel, because if I didn't have this is the money I get from this. It's not, I don't want to like make it sound like it's so much money. It's not. It's like a part-time job. So if I didn't have this, I would go get a part-time job to help supplement my income, and then I probably wouldn't have the time to keep making these videos. So your support really does make it possible for me to continue making content. So thanks for being here. I hope this was interesting. I personally really like to see stats and charts and stuff. I find the numbers really interesting. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat crying. I'll have those videos linked down below if you are interested in learning some more about what I do and how I started my business and how 2020 looked for me as a year. Looking at it now, I'm looking back through the previous video and what we talked about. I talked about kind of how each book that I had was doing, so maybe we'll do that here at the end, just in case you care. Let me pull up my spreadsheet. So as of right now, it's July of 2021. I have 4 books out. My 5th one is coming out in August. That's next month. So as of right now, we have The Sweetest Kind of Poison. This is a collection of poetry that actually came out in 2018. We have the Anti-Virginity Pact, which is like a young adult coming of age story. This came out in 2020. And then also Poems for the End of the World, another poetry collection. This also came out in 2020. And then the Anti-Relationship Year. This is a new adult college romance, and this came out this year in March. So let's go book by book. So for The Sweetest Kind of Poison, because it's an older book, any sales I get on it, I'm thrilled to see. I don't really market it. I don't really promote it. It's in Kindle Unlimited, so a lot of people read it that way, which means I get paid basically nothing for people reading it. I think if you read the book cover to cover in Kindle Unlimited, I get about 60 cents. Whereas if you buy it, I don't know how much the ebook costs. I think I'd get over like $2. So this isn't a big money maker, but I honestly don't care. This was a passion project back in 2018. It was for fun, and it's not really a big focus for me. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't, I don't care. So in 2021, it's doing okay. It's doing okay. I know I said I wasn't gonna give you numbers, but again, I don't really care about this one. This one, literally, I will sell 20 to 40 copies of it a month, and that's okay with me. Now, the Anti-Virginity Pact has been doing super well this year because these 2 are companion books. So when I released this in March, I did a sale for this, and when people found this book, they went back to the first book. So this book has been doing well this year, I think because of the release of its companion book. This is my top selling book. This is by far the book that I've sold the most copies of. I had the audiobook for this book come out this year. She got a new cover. This was not the original cover. Definitely I've sold more copies of this than this. We're gonna see which one's the top seller. I actually don't even know. Poems for the End of the World. Again, I just find poetry to be pretty niche. My novels sell way more than my poetry does. However, this was nominated for a Goodreads award and made it to the semifinals round, I think. So a ton of people picked this book up because of that award, or at least they added it to their to read shelves on Goodreads. This book is the one that has by far the most like to read ads on Goodreads. Like over 5,000 people have added this book, which is far more than any of my other books. So yeah, this one's doing well. This one usually sells 50 to 150 copies per month. And then my newest release, The Anti-Relationship Year. Okay, so yeah, this book is the one that sold the most so far this year, but that's not surprising because it released this year. I didn't know what to expect with this one, given it's a companion to this book, but it's a standalone, so you could read this one without reading the other one. So I didn't know if people were going to be willing to read this without reading the first, or if they would want to read them both, or if people wouldn't understand that they could read this without reading that one. So I honestly didn't know what to expect with this release. I will say the biggest factor for this book has been TikTok. I've had a couple of TikToks about this book do well, and literally I've sold like 150 copies in a single day because of a TikTok before. So this book is alive and breathing because of TikTok. There's an audiobook for this one out now too. It's been out for 3 months, and yeah, I'm very happy with how this one's doing. This is definitely my top seller for this year, and then this one is my top seller overall. But we'll see if that changes as time goes on with my book that's coming out next month. It's called The Marionettes, and it's my first dip into a completely new genre. This is paranormal fantasy romance. So I'm very interested to see how this release goes. Again, it's hard when I'm flip-flopping around so much. I know that's not what is recommended to do. So do as they say, not as I do. We'll see how this release goes. I'll be curious. That's the best word for it. I'm curious, so I can compare numbers and just kind of see how this one goes. This is the first book in a series too, and it's like an actual series, not just companion books. So again, another new experience. Like I said, I'm planning on having 2 other books in addition to this come out later in the year. We'll see if I can whip them into shape by then, but I'm thinking the 3rd poetry collection will come out in October, and then book 2 for the Marionette series will come out in December. That's the plan. And then as far as editing goes, back to freelance editing, these are my calendars and how I keep track of all my clients. Yeah, I'm currently fully booked for the rest of the year, so that's a big relief to not have to worry about that. And I'm currently booking into January and February of next year. So honestly, I could not be more grateful that I've had consistent work, and finding clients and trying to fill my calendar has not been something I've had to worry about. That is like invaluable peace of mind as a freelancer. So thank you so much if you're watching this. If you're one of my clients, you guys are the best. If you want to learn more about my editing and how I've built that side of things, again, I'll have that video linked down below. I know a lot of people seem to be curious about that. But yeah, that was my 6-month check-in for the first half of 2021. I hope this was interesting to you. Let me know if you would like to see these checkups every once in a while. I think they're interesting, and I just really like to be able to look back on them. But I guess I did talk about how much I spent in that last video on my books that year. I'm not gonna do that here. I have a whole video because I've only had 1 book come out so far, and I've started posting them on this channel. I have a video about how much I spent to publish this book on my channel. I'll have it linked down below. And then when the Marionettes comes out next month, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did for this book, where I post a new video every day of release week to celebrate, and one of the videos will be how much I spent on the Marionettes. So if you're curious about costs of self-publishing, that's where you can find that. I think that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, maybe subscribe and stick around. I appreciate it if you give the videos a thumbs up. Links are down below. You can add my new book, The Marionettes, on Goodreads. You can pre-order a signed copy, all of that good stuff, and I will just see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Bye. No. Pretty Caroline, oh, 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 Stone Cold.